Three people, three normal trips. One never slept peacefully again, another almost didn't make it home, and the third was lucky to still be alive to tell the story. What I'm about to tell you aren't urban legends or movie plots. These are real accounts that happened in the last 2 years, documented by police, involving people who thought they knew all the dangers of traveling alone. People who were wrong. And you know what's most terrifying? Any of these stories could have happened to you the next time you decide to hit the road alone. Because real terror doesn't warn you when it's about to knock on your door. Marina was driving on a highway she knew like the back of her hand when she realized she was being followed. Carlos trusted the wrong gas station attendant and almost became a statistic. Inna followed a trail that seemed safe and discovered she wasn't alone in the woods. But wait, before I tell you the details that will make you question every decision you've ever made while traveling, answer me something. Would you be able to identify when you're in real danger? Because these three people thought they could, until the moment they realized they were completely wrong. You know that exact moment when you realize something is terribly wrong. When your stomach drops, your heart races, and your whole body screams for you to run. It's a primitive instinct that can save your life, if you know how to listen to it. Marina knew that feeling well, but she always thought it was just paranoia. Until the night she decided to drive alone to visit her parents and discovered that not all paranoia is unfounded. Sometimes it can be the difference between getting home or becoming a newspaper headline. It was a Friday night in late October, the kind of night that gives you chills for no apparent reason. Marina was 28 years old, a math teacher, a rational woman who didn't believe in premonitions or superstitions. She always said that fear without foundation was a waste of time. But when she left home at 10 p.m. to make a 120-mile trip, she had done dozens of times before. Something in the air was different. The silence seemed heavier, the shadows longer, and that feeling in her stomach, that feeling she tried to ignore. She started the car, adjusted the rearview mirrors, chose an upbeat playlist to chase away the bad thoughts. After all, what could go wrong on such a simple trip? But you know how these stories work. When someone asks that question, the answer usually isn't nothing. The first 30 miles went normally. Light traffic, well-maintained road, music playing on the radio. Marina even started to relax, laughing at herself for getting nervous for no reason. That's when she looked in the rearview mirror and saw the headlights. A white car, a model she couldn't identify in the darkness. Nothing unusual, just another driver on the road. But there was something about the way it maintained the same distance, the same speed, as if it were following. Marina slowed down from 60 to 55 mph. The car behind also slowed down. She accelerated to 70. It accelerated too. Changed lanes? It changed too, always maintaining the same distance, like it was her shadow on the road. Marina's heart began to beat faster. Her hands got sweaty on the steering wheel. That voice in her head that she always ignored started screaming, "Something's wrong, very wrong." She passed a closed gas station, then another. The road became increasingly deserted, just her and that car following her with the determination of a predator. And that's when Marina understood the difference between paranoia and survival instinct. Because paranoia is when you're afraid for no reason. Survival instinct is when you're afraid. And you're absolutely right. Let me ask you a question that might save your life someday. If you were in Marina's place at that moment, what would you do? Stop to confront? Speed up to try to lose them? Or do what she did? Marina saw the sign for the next town, 5 miles. She floored the accelerator, not to escape, but to quickly get somewhere with movement, lights, people. The car behind accelerated too, but kept its distance. When she reached the town, Marina didn't hesitate. She drove straight to the police station, which luckily was still open. She parked right in front, with the engine running, and watched through the rearview mirror. The car that had been following her drove slowly down the street, slowed down in front of the police station, then accelerated and disappeared into the darkness. But Marina saw enough to never forget. A man alone, wearing a cap, who watched her for a few seconds before driving away. She ran into the police station with trembling legs. The officer on duty, a man about 45, with the look of someone who had seen everything, listened to her account with growing attention. "You did the right thing, ma'am," he said. "Cases like this are more common than we'd like, especially women alone on the road at night." They offered an escort to the city limits. Marina accepted without hesitation. But the story doesn't end there. Because 3 weeks later, Marina discovered something that made her realize how close to tragedy she had been. 2 young women, similar ages to hers, had disappeared on that same highway in the last month. Both were traveling alone at night. Both were last seen being followed by an unidentified car. Marina understood it hadn't been paranoia. It hadn't been coincidence. It had been the most primitive and powerful instinct that exists. The instinct to preserve one's own life. And if you think this story is about luck, well, wait until you hear what happened to Carlos. A story that will teach you that sometimes danger doesn't come from those who follow us, but from those we encounter when we need help. You know what the most dangerous thing in the world is? It's not fear of the unknown. It's trust in the familiar. It's thinking that because someone smiles, offers help, and speaks nicely, that person can't be a threat. Carlos had been a salesman for 15 years. He had traveled all over the country, met all kinds of people, handled complicated situations. He always said he knew how to read people, identify who was trustworthy and who wasn't, until the night he discovered he was completely wrong. It was a Tuesday in March when Carlos received an urgent call. An important client wanted to close a deal, but only if he was there in person by the next day. The flight had been cancelled due to a storm, and the only alternative was to hit the road. Almost 250 miles, leaving at 7 p.m. Carlos wasn't worried. He had done much worse trips. He got the car, filled up, bought some snacks, and left. What could go wrong on a routine business trip? The first part of the trip was smooth. Carlos even took the opportunity to make some hands-free calls, got some work stuff done. He was feeling productive, in control of the situation. It was around 10 p.m. when the car started showing the first signs of trouble. The engine temperature spiked without warning. Carlos had to stop immediately in a town that seemed frozen in time. Poorly lit streets, closed shops, just a few stray dogs walking on empty sidewalks. The only open place was an old gas station with those pumps you don't see anymore. And there he was, the attendant who would change Carlos's entire perspective on trust. A man about 50, graying mustache, easy smile, the kind of person your grandmother would say, "Looks like good people." He approached the car with the eagerness of someone who really wants to help. "Engine trouble?" he asked, already lifting the hood without being asked. "I know this well. It's the cooling system. Nothing serious, but you have to let it cool overnight." Carlos explained that he needed to reach his destination the next day. The man shook his head, thoughtful. "Look, friend, I can fix this right here. I have the parts, I know the problem, but you'll have to leave the car until tomorrow morning. There's no other way." That's when the attendant made the offer that saved Carlos's life, and almost took it at the same time. "I'll take you to an inn nearby. Very good, cheap, and tomorrow morning I'll come get you with the car ready." Carlos looked around. There was no taxi, no Uber, the cell phone signal was weak, and that man seemed so helpful, so genuinely concerned about helping. He accepted, and in that moment he made the mistake that almost cost him his life. Because sometimes the most dangerous person is the one who doesn't look dangerous. It's the one who smiles, offers help, and makes you lower your guard exactly when you should be most alert. The inn was on a dirt road, far from everything. During the 15-minute journey, Carlos began to feel that something wasn't right. The attendant asked strange questions. If he always traveled alone, if anyone knew where he was, if he had family waiting for news. Just curiosity. the man said, maintaining that smile that now seemed too forced. When they arrived at the location, Carlos felt his stomach drop. That wasn't an inn. It was an abandoned building with broken windows, weeds growing at the entrance, with no sign that it functioned as lodging. The attendant parked and said, "We're here. You can get out." That's when Carlos saw the gun on the man's belt, and the two figures who came out of the house's porch, walking toward the car. Adrenaline exploded in Carlos's body like a bomb. Time stopped. Sounds became muffled. The only thing that existed was the urgent, desperate need to get out of there. He pretended he was going to get out, opened the door, but at the last second jumped back to the driver's seat. He locked the doors with his arms still outside, started the car, and floored the accelerator with all the strength he had. The car skidded away, raising a cloud of red dust. Carlos heard shouts behind him, but didn't look back. He drove down the dirt road in the dark, not knowing where it led, just knowing he needed to reach the main highway. He drove all night without stopping. When he finally reached a larger city and sought police help, he discovered that region was known for kidnappings and robberies of travelers. The attendant and his accomplices had been under investigation for months. Carlos was lucky. Very lucky. Lucky to have seen the weapon in time. Lucky to have reacted quickly. Lucky that the car worked when he needed it most. But luck is something we can't control. And in the third story I'm going to tell, you'll see what happens when luck decides not to show up when we need it most. Anna was 31 years old and had a passion that defined her life: nature photography. She spent entire weekends exploring remote places, always alone, always in search of the perfect image that no one else had captured. Her friends always said she was too brave for her own good. Anna would laugh and respond that she knew her limits, that she knew how to take care of herself, that she had enough experience not to get into trouble. Until the day she discovered that experience is not always enough when you make the wrong decision at the wrong time. It was a Saturday in October when Anna decided to explore a mountainous region famous for its impressive waterfalls. She had researched the location, studied maps, talked to other photographers who had been there. Everything seemed safe and well planned, but it was a casual conversation with a local resident that changed the entire trip itinerary and almost cost her life. "There's a secret trail," the man said, pointing in a direction that wasn't on any map. "It leads to a waterfall that almost nobody knows about. Too beautiful. About 5 miles into the woods." Anna's eyes sparkled. A secret waterfall? A landscape that few photographers had recorded? It was exactly the kind of discovery she was always looking for. She asked about the trail's difficulty, about reference points, about safety. The man assured her it was easy, that he had done it several times himself, that the trail was well marked. Anna thanked him for the tip, adjusted her backpack with photographic equipment, and set off on what would be the most terrifying hike of her life. The trail started on a dirt road and continued into the woods. Anna left her car clearly visible, marked the point on GPS, and began the hike with the confidence of someone who knew what they were doing. The first 2 miles were exactly as the resident had described. Well-marked trail, incredible scenery, and Anna was already capturing some magnificent photos. The sun filtered through the treetops, creating a perfect play of light and shadow. She was in her element, alone in nature, connected with the environment, doing what she loved most in life. It was when she reached a fork that wasn't in the resident's description that Anna made the mistake that would change everything. 2 paths ahead of her, one to the left, steeper and covered with vegetation, another to the right, which seemed more maintained and used. Logic said to choose the right one, and Anna always trusted logic. But sometimes logic can lead us straight into danger. She followed the right path for another hour, photographing the way, enjoying the late afternoon light. That's when she noticed the trail was becoming increasingly diffuse, less defined. And then the trail simply disappeared. Anna stopped and looked around. She was in the middle of a dense forest, without any point of reference, not knowing where she had come from. Everything looked the same: tall trees, dense bushes, moss-covered rocks. Panic started slowly, like a thirst that gradually increases. She tried to go back the same way, but couldn't find where she had passed. Every direction she took seemed to lead her to an even more unknown place, and it was getting dark. Anna tried to use her phone's GPS, but there was no signal. The battery was at 30% and dropping fast. She needed to conserve it for a possible emergency. She decided to look for a high place, a rock or tree she could climb, to try to orient herself. She was climbing a steep slope when she started hearing noises. At first, she thought they were animals. Dry leaves crackling, branches breaking, normal forest sounds. But there was something different about these noises. They seemed intentional, coordinated, as if someone was moving purposefully around her. Anna stopped to listen better. Her heart was beating so loud she was sure anyone nearby could hear it. The noises continued, slow, calculated steps circling her position. That's when she saw the footprints, human footprints in the muddy ground, fresh ones, following the same direction she was taking. They weren't hers, they were bigger, deeper, from someone much heavier. Someone was walking ahead of her, or worse, was waiting for her. Anna's instinct screamed one word: run! And she ran. She ran into the woods without direction, just trying to get away from those footprints, those noises, that terrible feeling of being hunted. She ran until her lungs burned, until her legs weakened, until she couldn't take another step. When she finally stopped, she was in a small clearing in the forest, gasping, with her heart feeling like it was going to explode. And that's when she saw something that froze her blood. An improvised tent between the trees, old, patched, but obviously inhabited. Around it, clear signs that someone was living there, food scraps, clothes hanging, a recent campfire still smoking. And the worst, tracks indicating this person wasn't alone. Anna hid behind a thick tree and stayed there, shaking, trying not to make any noise, until the sun rose, the longest hours of her life. With every noise, every movement of the leaves, she was sure she would be discovered. When it finally dawned, she was able to orient herself by the sun and find her way back. She left that forest running, without looking back, without stopping even to drink water. Anna never found out who was in those woods. She never knew if she was really being pursued or if it was fear playing with her mind. But one thing she knew for sure: there were other people living in those forests, and these people didn't seem to be there for innocent reasons. 3 stories, 3 ordinary people who left home on a normal morning and almost did not return to tell about it. Marina, Carlos, and Anna weren't reckless adventurers or imprudent people. They were experienced people who thought they knew all the risks. But the truth is, there are dangers we can't predict, people with intentions we prefer not to imagine, situations that aren't in any safety manual. And you know what's most disturbing? These stories happen every day. Right now, while you're watching this video, someone somewhere is going through a similar situation. Someone who left home thinking it was going to be just another normal day. The difference between an adventure and a tragedy is sometimes just our ability to recognize danger before it's too late. It's listening to that inner voice that warns us when something isn't right. It's trusting instinct even when logic says we're being paranoid. Because paranoia can save your life. Marina saved her own life by driving to the police station. Carlos saved himself by noticing the gun in time. Anna saved herself by running when all the signs said to run. They listened to instinct. They trusted fear. And that's why they're alive today, to tell these stories. So let me ask a final question. Would you be able to identify these signs? Would you have the courage to act when every fiber of your body was screaming that something is wrong? Because one day, This might be the difference between you telling an interesting story or becoming part of one. If you made it this far, please share this video with someone you want to get home safely. Leave a like if these stories made you think, and subscribe to the channel because I have many other real accounts to tell. And if you've ever been through a strange situation while traveling alone, tell us in the comments. Your story could save someone's life, because in the end, that's what matters, getting home, always.